behind her mother and hid her face as the loud, nasty monster rattled into the station. "Right, up we go," Rose said as the doors opened. Alex hopped up and followed her in giant steps to a bench seat. The only other passenger was a man, half hidden behind a paper, but then Rose had deliberately chosen to travel home from her mother's in the middle of the afternoon to avoid the rush-hour crush. Trying to manage 3 children amongst a bruising, impatient horde of commuters wouldn't have been wise. In fact, it could be downright reckless. Moments after the doors closed, one of the twins started to wake up. Watching her eyes blink open and her tiny mouth widen in a yawn, Rose waited expectantly, and sure enough, the instant Becky spotted her, her precious little face broke into the sunniest of smiles. "Hello, you," Rose murmured. Becky burped, and Alex gave a shriek of laughter. "Say pardon me," Alex told her. Becky looked at her sister and frowned. "Can I run down to the door at the end?" Alex demanded, already starting to go. "No, sweetheart," Rose told her. "I want to." "I said no." "But I want to." "Mummy, up, up." Becky was already half out of the pushchair, while Simon, in his usual fashion, simply carried on sleeping. "You'll have to go back in when it's time to get off the train," Rose warned as she lifted Becky onto her lap. Becky burped again and started wriggling in an effort to get down. "Look at me, Mummy," Alex called. Gasping to see her at the other end of the carriage, Rose scowled at her meaningfully. "I told you it wasn't allowed." "I want to run," Alex pouted. Rose glanced at the man seated opposite. "You're being a nuisance," she told Alex. "Oh, please don't mind me," the man said, and Rose noticed that his eyes seemed gentle, yet somehow sad, as he watched Alex darting past. "Run, run!" Becky cried. "You're too small," Rose laughed, pulling her back as she tried to launch herself off. "Let Becky run too," Alex implored. "I'll hold her hand." Rose looked at the other passenger again, and when he smiled she set Becky down on her wobbly legs and felt her heart fill with pride as Becky toddled off with Alex, so thrilled that she was gurgling with glee. Though Rose knew she loved them all equally, she'd have to admit, if pushed, that she'd always felt there was something special about Alex. Probably because she was their firstborn, or perhaps because she was so engaging. People always wanted to stop and talk to her, and being the sociable little chatterbox she was, she usually had plenty to say. Her daddy was completely smitten, to the point that he'd sit and watch her sleeping at night, listening to her breathing and marvelling at what a wonderful little miracle she was. He did the same with the twins, but Rose was aware of a special bond developing between him and Alex that she loved every bit as much as she loved them. "Look at us, Mummy!" Alex shouted as she and Becky charged back through the carriage. "Shush!" Rose cautioned, looking at the man again. Though he was smiling as he watched them, Rose was struck again by how melancholy he seemed, and being as soft-hearted as she was, she wanted to ask if he was all right. Of course she couldn't, and nor would she, but when he glanced her way she treated him to one of her warmest smiles. He seemed embarrassed, but pleased, and chuckled aloud as Alex and Becky stormed past again. Since no one else got on the train as they passed through the next few stations, she allowed the girls to carry on wearing themselves out, until eventually they were approaching Southfields and she called out for them to come back. Alex looked mutinous, but then Becky began squealing as she raced towards her mother, and not wanting to be last, Alex sprinted after her. It was as Becky reached the pushchair that Alex caught up and pushed her. Becky fell, hitting her mouth on the wheel, and let out a terrible scream. "Alex, you naughty girl!" Rose snapped angrily as she scooped Becky up. Blood was pouring from Becky's lip, and having found her voice she was belting it out. Then Simon was awake and crying too, while Alex gazed on in fear. "You're in big trouble now," Rose told her over the din. "Hold on to my coat while we get